I just want you to know, as we bring Jennifer Galardi in, visiting fellow with the Independent Women's Forum, I want you to know that video you just saw is real. On my life, we did not like edit something there or just do something goofy. That's real. And so, Jennifer, maybe, look, you're obviously, by the grace of God, a former person, a former Democrat. Can you help me understand what I'm missing? Because I don't understand it, and I want to understand. Help me understand, please.
I wish I could, but I think even in my darkest moments, Jesse, that was not acceptable. I've done some pretty cringy things, I have to admit. I've tried to scrub the internet of some of them. I leave some of them up to remind me of how far I've come and how much, how my sanity has been restored and my true joy. But that is really like, every time I see it, I laugh. And actually seeing it not through my own screen, but just through this made me laugh even more. I don't know why, but I can't get over how silly this is and how I actually think that they're moving the needle. I don't get it, but I like I said last time to you, I hope they keep going in that direction because that will only mean more wins for us for years and years to come.
Doesn't it seem like they're losing their minds quickly? And that's kind of like the central theme of things here. I realize they're bottomed out, and sometimes your party, whether you're Democrat or Republican, you bottom out, you lose an election, you don't have any power, and you go back to the drawing board. This doesn't work. Let's focus on this. But it seems like they went from having kind of everything to just their brains just fell out on the table. And I don't understand how it came apart so quickly. Is it maybe, and maybe this is maybe this is crazy, is it Pelosi kind of getting too old and retiring? Maybe that old witch was kind of keeping all the cats herded in, and now that she's too old and tired and her dentures are falling out, she can't, and they're just running?
I don't know, but what I was just thinking about is our very first conversation, and the reason you had me on is that you said, like, leftism is a mental disorder. And in a way, I don't want to like overgeneralize, but there are some certain modes of thinking that really makes you think the behavior in that type of video is appealing and is sensible, particularly coming out of politicians. Like, I get it, we're all a little silly, but have some like modest decorum about yourself and some standard of what you will and will not put out there. So maybe Pelosi was just holding all the crazies together. We do see a younger and younger shift of who the leading voices in the Democratic Party are. They're increasingly women, they're increasingly young, and they're increasingly not good. I will give AOC credit. She really knows how to use the internet. She knows how to use the socials. A lot of the Democrat Party does not. And actually, I don't know if I think you wanted to talk about this anyways, but Charlie Kirk talked about that in the first podcast of Gavin Newsom. He had Charlie Kirk on. It was glorious.
Yeah, it is. It's wild. And maybe there's something there about the young women thing, because everybody who's ever talked to a young woman or been one knows young women can easily be really, really insane and impossible to be around. And maybe that explains it, that they've taken over instead of being on the sidelines. Jasmine Crockett, instead of being some backbencher, now she is a leading voice, and there aren't any other voices to kind of pull her back. AOC, you brought up how savvy she is, and she actually looks, and I know she's crazy, she actually looks fairly reasonable compared to some of the Ayanna Pressley types and things like that. Maybe it's just a party that's taken over by young women with mental illness.
I don't know, but no one's reining them in. And the podcast with Newsom, he sounded like a Republican. It was crazy. And I was like, where have you been for the past 10 years? Like, why have you not reined in your party? No one is stepping up, like you said, to kind of say, listen, that's not exactly what we should be doing right now. You're missing the mark. But it doesn't seem like anybody is stepping in. Maybe Newsom will. I don't know.
Don't you think, now you're more familiar with Newsom than I am, because I think maybe you still live out there, at least one time you did. Don't you think that filthy snake, because I saw some of that podcast you're talking about, don't you think he's just being the ultimate chameleon, getting ready to run for president in 2028, trying to act like I'm not one of these crazy California Democrats who wants to trans your dog. I'm just kind of a middle of the road guy with too much hair gel. I'm one of you. Don't you get that act?
Yeah, I mean, if you heard that podcast, you couldn't tell him as any different from a kind of moderate conservative. You know, Kirk is giving him advice, and he's like, yeah, and I get it, and yeah, we've got issues there, like with BLM and that scam, and 80-20 issues, like men and women's sports, where 80% of the country is with conservatives. And he keeps saying to Kirk, like, you're right. But like I said, every Democrat in the House voted to reject the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. So where has he been? He completely threw Kamala under the bus, and said that ad was disastrous, where Trump had said, Kamala's for they, them, and Trump is for you. He admitted that totally killed her. He said he's against the pronoun stuff and condemned the Latinx terminology. He's like, we never said that in my office. We never used pronouns. I don't know where that came from. And I was like, where was he the whole time? Why didn't he speak up? So to your point, he's either secretly a Republican, or what I think is more true, he's a grifter, like most Democrats, who's strategically trying to rebrand himself in anticipation for a national election and distract people from his disastrous leadership of the state I called home. You're right, for 20 years, which I left about a year and a half ago. And I saw it before my very eyes, just destroyed. So I agree with you. I think he's trying to, rebrand himself from particularly coming off of the disaster of the wildfires.
Is he the answer for them? It's hard to imagine that a California Democrat, not to disparage California, which, as you know, I love, is he the answer for Democrats in 2028 to try to, calm the storm? Or is it going to be a Gretchen Whitmer type who kind of has, the milfy thing going? Or is it a J.B. Pritzker? I think he's kind of fat, which is relatable. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know who they're going to put forth, to be honest. If people fall for Newsom, and the thing is, they fell for him for the past 5 years, right? He kind of does this rebranding thing, and I don't know if it is the hair gel and the flammable forehead, but he does rebrand himself, and people seem to have a short memory. So he may very well pull this off. I mean, he is more camera savvy. He did do that debate with DeSantis, and whether you agreed with him or not, he kind of held his own, even though I thought DeSantis won that debate. And he's a savvy politician. I don't think anybody else really has this. Maybe Gretchen Whitmer. One, she's a woman, and we all know how they love their identity politics. But I don't think they have a strong person right now. They're really going to have to build them up from now going forward for the next couple of years.
What do you think of J.D. Vance? I've been so impressed. I liked him before. I just wasn't that familiar with him. I'm very impressed so far.
Yeah, I've always loved him. I mean, from the moment I read Hillbilly Elegy, and I just, what's funny is the left embraced him. They loved him when he first came out with that book, right? And then all of a sudden, he's a Republican and they hate him. They just can't see beyond anything but a political party. He's very intelligent. He's got like the quintessential American story. His wife is Indian. They should be celebrating this, and yet they can't stand him. I've always enjoyed him. I know people that know him firsthand, and from what I hear, he's just a down-to-earth guy. And I think he can speak off the cuff. I think Democrats have a hard time doing that. Charlie Kirk in that podcast, he called the Democrat Party all but a bunch of pansies. And he said they're not masculine. And what he was talking about is this new media that J.D. Vance and Trump got both really good at, because they can riff. And I took a quote down from Kirk. Let me read it to you, because I think it so well encapsulates the Democrats' problem and highlights J.D. Vance's strengths. Is that if you want to earn the respect of forgotten America, you have to show them that you can intellectually joust with no script, no hard breaks like you do, no producers in your ears, no teleprompters. And that's where media is going. People have to be able to trust you, what you're saying. And when you when you have a position that's based on first principles, it's easy to tell the truth. You don't have to know what the current trend is or what people want to hear. You tell the truth all the time, so you come across as authentic. And I think JD has that skill. Trump earned that skill over the past few years. And that's where we just kind of spank the left, is in new media.
I'll take it. Jennifer, come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.